Chapter 26, Section 3 continued. We're going to continue talking about various countries that have something to do with World War II, bringing them up to that mid-1930s time point. We were in the middle of talking about Germany, and let's continue talking about Germany here. After World War I, the Treaty of Versailles very much limited the military of Germany. The government after World War I, the Weimar Republic, built up the army on a small scale, but not going too crazy. Now that Hitler's in charge, Hitler vows to destroy the treaty. Remember, it's the middle of the Depression. Hitler says, if we can build up our military, if we can rearm, this would help the economy by providing jobs, thereby reducing unemployment. So in 1935, Hitler announces that he is going to build up the army to 550,000 soldiers. This is blowing the Treaty of Versailles out of the water. The Treaty of Versailles only allowed Germany to have a maximum number of 100,000 soldiers. Obviously, Britain is going to object. But Britain was not ready to fight a war over this. France objected. France wasn't going to fight this war alone without Britain. So nothing was done. In March of 1936, Hitler announces that he is going to send troops into the demilitarized Rhineland. According to the Treaty of Versailles, Germany was not allowed to have troops in the Rhineland. The German generals are going to warn Hitler that the German army was still too weak to fight. But Hitler says, go ahead, because he was sure France and Britain wouldn't fight. And they didn't. They objected, but the same thing. Not ready for war and not going to fight war without the other. Hitler's next move is going to focus on the Sudetenland. The Sudetenland is a region in western Czechoslovakia. The Sudetenland used to belong to Germany. Hitler wants the Sudetenland. He says there are 3 million Germans living in the Sudetenland. So he felt they should be part of Germany. Obviously, Czechoslovakia says no. Let's talk about what's going on in Germany itself. All this time, while Hitler's making these other moves, the German government policy was becoming anti-Semitism. Anti-Semitism is simply the hatred of Jews. In 1935, the Nuremberg laws were passed in Germany. The Nuremberg laws basically made the Jews give up their German citizenship, and Jewish property could be destroyed. November 9th, 1938 is Kristallnacht, the night of broken glass. This is the night that Germans burnt Jewish synagogues and Jewish businesses. And it gets its name for all of the broken glass storefronts all over the sidewalk. You're going to have many Jews flee Germany. Mostly wealthy and famous Jews are going to escape because they could. For example, Albert Einstein, Sigmund Freud. Another family, not necessarily Jewish, but that's going to escape, is the Von Trapp family, which some of you may know from the movie that was kind of made about them, The Sound of Music. Most Jews, though, had nowhere to go. Most countries had immigration laws and quotas, and they couldn't just let tons of people come in. Um, we had a law here in the U.S. that we would not allow impoverished immigrants. You had to have at least some money to get a start. We weren't going to let you come here just to starve and die. Germany also had a law, though, that Jews could leave with only a maximum of $4, which would rule a lot of them out from coming here. So that brings Germany up to about the mid-30s here. Let's talk about Spain now. Now, in World War II, Spain isn't going to be a big player at all. But some stuff's going to happen in Spain before the war that directs the way things go during the war. The fascists had come to power in Spain, led by General Francisco Franco. There ends up being a civil war in Spain. Franco is going to be helped out by Germany and Italy, two other fascist nations. And Hitler's actually going to use this as a chance to try out a new toy of his, some new weapons. The Luftwaffe. This was Hitler's powerful new air force. And he's going to send them to Spain to help out in this civil war. But it was also a way for Hitler to test his Luftwaffe and see how they do. The other side is going to be aided by the Soviet Union. Stalin very much feared the military moves that he saw Hitler making. Stalin said, communism and fascism are not compatible, even though both Stalin and Hitler use the same type of tactics. Our concern watching all of this was, keep us out of it. This has nothing to do with us. Keep us out of this foreign conflict. There were about 3,000 Americans that do fight against fascism as part of the Popular Front, which was an international alliance against fascism. It was hard to stop an individual American from going over there on their own. But the United States itself, staying out of it. And the final country we need to talk about getting up to this point is Japan. In the 1920s, military leaders were gaining more and more power in Japan. And they basically have three goals they want to accomplish. They wanted to lessen the influence of the West in Asia. They wanted to make Japan less dependent on foreign imports. And they wanted to expand Japanese territory, which would give Japan the natural resources needed. Japan itself is a small group of rocky islands. They don't have much in the way of natural resources, and they needed iron and oil and rubber and timber. Expanding their territory could give them this. We already talked about how in 1931 Japan invades Manchuria, which violated the Kellogg-Briand Pact. But in 1934, Japan begins violating those pledges it made at the Washington Conference by rapidly building up their navy. By July 7th, 1937, you're going to have the Sino-Japanese War, where Japan takes over parts of China. And by the next year, Japan controlled much of the coast of China and blockaded China. As this goes on, the League of Nations and the United States both condemn the actions by the Japanese here. But the League of Nations really had no power to do anything. And the United States basically said you shouldn't be doing that, but it's not our problem. Keep us out of it.